Welcome to Life Beyond B.S, where we ditch the belief systems and the bullshit and get real about life. Here it's about awareness, choice, and creating joy that actually lasts. No perfection, just honest talk and powerful change. I'm your host, Heather McNally, and let's get into it. Hi, friends, and welcome back to Life Beyond B.S. This is the place where we go beyond the belief systems and, the bullshit that holds us back in life. I'm Heather McNally, your host, and today we have a fabulous guest. Her name is Debbie Bryan. Debbie is a visibility and sales strategist for ambitious women who are done with being seen but not paid. A TEDx speaker and co-curator of TEDx Railway Village 2026. Debbie is known for cutting through the noise and saying what most people won't. Your problem isn't your content. It isn't the algorithm. It's the gap between how you show up and how you actually sell. She works with already successful women who look visible from the outside, but still aren't fully booked. She helps them fix what she calls the final 20%, the part where your message finally lands, your value is obvious, and sales stop feeling like a slog. If you've outgrown generic marketing tips and you're ready for your visibility to return into consistent revenue, Debbie is the person founders come to when they're done guessing and ready to get strategic. Love this so much, Debbie. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I'm thrilled to have you here. And where are you coming from in this world?
So I am coming from the UK. We started off sunny this morning and now it's freezing. So we're having the weirdest weather at the moment. So it's like you could put shorts on in the morning and then the heating on by tea time. It's just bizarre. So but it's
Yep. I feel that because we're in New England and we get the same. It's like
same.
walk out in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, they're all different seasons. It's so
Yeah,
funny.
it's crazy. It's
So
crazy.
I would love to know a little bit like we've got your accolades. You are very accomplished and you have a great story, but I want to hear a little bit about who you are at your heart and soul level to start off.
Who I am at my heart and soul level. Well, for years I didn't have a heart. I was very tough, um, very much quite hard go business, business, business. But actually, who I am is somebody who likes to transform people. I kind of worked this out a couple of years ago as I started hairdressing when I was 14. I've worked in travel. I'm coaching and mentoring as I like to help people to be the person that they need to be. So, for example, of travel, I'm transform their destination. Hairdressing, someone can come in having a really bad day and go out feeling $1 million. And now I do that for people who want to be seen and want to just have a business that is like so fun and so aligned to them. So I guess I'm just somebody who likes to help people really.
Mm. Yeah, I so feel that. I knew that about myself when I was really young. I knew
Mm,
that I was meant to help people. I just didn't know how. And I've gone through many evolutions of that, and I'm sure you have too. Um,
hundreds.
yeah, and it just, it happens, and that's what life is. It's this beautiful journey of here I am now. Oh, what now? Look what's available to me. Now look what's available to me. And I love that so much. So tell me a little bit about you didn't start off as this successful woman who's done TEDx and is helping other people launch their businesses, get their businesses going, and really become visible. So, who were you before this all started? What did you do? You've mentioned that you were a hairstylist.
Even that, to be honest, even the hairdressing was something that was, I wanted a job. I wanted to earn my own money. And so my dad found me a Saturday job as a hairdresser and I did love it. But I guess if I go more recently, I'm too old to go back through my whole CV, right? But in terms of where I am now, where I work with people that are speakers, probably 5, 6 years ago, I decided that I wanted to be a speaker, but I had no confidence. I'd
Mm,
gone through a business deal that had gone badly wrong
mm,
and lost all my confidence, like literally lost all my confidence. And used to say, who's going to listen to Debbie from Swindon? Who's gonna listen to me on a stage? I had this whole persona of this Debbie from Swindon. So when I was asked to speak, the first time I said no. And then when I did speak, I would blush, I would stutter, I would speak so fast that people thought I had an accent. And then I'd stop abruptly and people would just look at me and go, I don't know what that was type thing. I was
Mm.
horrendous, literally horrendous. And I used to say to my friend, I'm going to be a speaker. And she's like, what are you even going to speak about? And I said, I don't know. I just know that that's what's going to happen, is that I'm going to be a speaker. But I was in a really, I went from like this, having a year of not knowing who I was after this horrendous business deal, and then being
Mm.
invited to work with a really great coach, but he was very masculine energy, very much about the millions and how you can earn more money and stuff like that. And he always used to say to me, you can come on my stage, but you have to talk about something that we don't. And I just always felt intimidated. I always felt like, who's going to listen to me? I haven't achieved what they've achieved. They were in
Mm.
London. I'm not in London. I was like, I'm an old lady, I'm a bit overweight. I just felt really mumsy, like this country mouse. And so this kind of went on. I started to speak a little bit, but I spoke about his business and had a whole showcase. I never talked about myself. And then I decided that I wanted to grow my own community. I wanted to come away from that type of business, and then didn't really know who I was. I discovered at that time there was masculine and feminine energy. I just thought there
Mhm.
was this go hard energy that, you were. I kind of realized that I'd been very, very kind to all of my clients and not very kind to myself. So I'd had this
Mhm.
be available 24 hours a day. If you have to stay awake for 24 hours to get the job done, you get the job done. Had this kind of mentality and burnt myself out in
Yeah.
got to a
Yeah.
stage. I was like, did it. So then I didn't want to be that person. I didn't know who I was. I didn't understand. My poor husband, when I tried to go, okay, we're just going to be chilled and relax, and I wasn't trying to get him to run around, ask me every day, what do you need me to do? And I'm like, nothing. And he'd be like, nothing. Like, he was
He
really,
wasn't used to it.
he's like, why are you not like pushing and stuff like that? And then eventually I kind of came around to that. I wanted to help people to show up, and I wanted to
Mm.
help people still in a coaching mentality, and still in a, we had lockdown and stuff, everything changed for everyone.
Mm.
In that mentality, but I kind of liked this, like a little bit calmer, a little bit more feminine energy, that I didn't have to strive to have this massive executive life.
Mhm.
And then found my way into speaking.
Yeah, it's so fantastic. So, a couple things there. First of all, it's amazing how one person can change things.
Mm.
And that is on them in some respects for what they do or say to you, but it's also on us because we get to choose how we handle that. And that is something that's really powerful because you get to choose, am I going to let that stop me and take my confidence away? Or am I going to say, no, that's your opinion? But when you don't understand that at that point, if you're in a place where you haven't done that kind of work, that can really be devastating, which obviously it was. But I want to hear the other thing that you mentioned was you were Debbie from Swindon, that you had that persona. Who was that? Who was that? Somebody who had, you know, any confidence, complete lack of confidence? Tell me a little bit about her.
I'm a very confident person, but I what happened was I went to meet with this person that I was talking to, and he was like, I'll make you a speaker, come and work with me. So the first day that I went up to London, and I don't know, I felt like I was just this little, like a country mouse, and there
Hmm.
was 20-year-old girls with their swishy hair and their skirts, and they'd come into London, and I was just like, what am I doing here? And he asked me to speak on the Sunday, and I was like, no, no one's going to listen to Debbie from Swindon. And actually crucified myself on the train on the way home, thinking, you had one opportunity, the person's going to make you a speaker, and you turned it down flat, because there was someone in the room that had an NLP master's, and there was a guy there with 3 business degrees, and I felt like I couldn't compete with them because I didn't have the letters and the numbers. I didn't have what they had, what I felt like was validation.
Hmm.
And so I suppose, but I'd worked with people. I was there for 3 days on a coaching thing. I'd worked with all these people. I knew everyone in the room. I was more worried about whether the lights would show that I had a white t-shirt on, you'd be able to see my bra, than I was about content and actually
Hmm.
getting up and talking. I had this real, I don't know, I suppose I was very measured externally by the people in the room.
Hmm.
Very much was like, I could be confident in some scenarios, but I felt like these people in the room were better. That person was an NLP master. He had a qualification. So much so that I went and got an NLP
Hmm.
master's, thinking that that was what I needed. I thought
Yeah.
that's what I need. So in the lockdown, I did the NLP, I did the NLP masters. It didn't change my life. So then the next year I did it again. I did the
Mm,
NLP Masters, but in a cohort. So I thought that will change my life. And again, it didn't really, because a lot of the stuff I was already doing anyway.
hmm
So it took me a long time to realize that actually I was already enough. I thought I needed all these extra things. And that's, I suppose, when I realized that I was already enough, that I didn't need to do another course. I didn't need to do more training. I didn't need to have this qualification or this thing to be enough to be worthy of being the person that could stand on the stage. It took me a while, but it kind of kicked in massively about a year and a half ago, but very much for my clients last year
mm,
as such. And so even when I stood on the stage and did my TEDx, I still was, I can remember being in the hotel. So if I go back, actually, it's one, I wanted to be a speaker. I went and asked people how to be a speaker, how to be a paid speaker. And two people said to me, one was like, go to the WI, the Women's Institute, and the schools and the colleges, and they'll be brutal. And after a year, they might pay you. Oh, and get a show reel. And the other person said, oh, I traveled the country for 5 years, went to all these gigs where I wanted to speak. And if the speaker didn't turn up, then I was the next one in. And I was like, fuck that for a game soldier. I don't have enough time in my life to be traveling around for nothing or
Right.
talking for a year for nothing. So I'm very much like, okay, life's a game, right? So I don't know if you have snakes and ladders over there where you go down the snake and up the ladder. So in
Mm,
my game of life that is snakes and ladders, I was like, okay, what's going to get me further up the board quickly? And that's how I applied for a TEDx. So
hmm
I decided I was going to do a TEDx. However, after I did my TEDx, I still can remember standing in the room, in my hotel room in Canada, saying, I wonder if I could call myself a speaker now. So that like,
hmm
little monkey just sat on my shoulder, and I was like,
Yeah.
you've just done a TEDx, Deb. Like, what more verification do you need to
hmm
say that you're a speaker? Because I was then comparing myself against people who are earning £20,000 for a keynote.
Yeah.
So well, I'm not doing that, so therefore I'm not a speaker.
Right. And isn't it amazing how we can have that imposter syndrome, even
Right.
if we have more life experience and more information and more different kinds of views than somebody who has all the alphabets after their name. And that doesn't make us any less than. And so,
No.
yes, a physician who's got an MD is going to know more about the body than me, but you learned it. And a lot of things come along with being a physician. You have to have a bedside manner. You have to be able to communicate with people. There's so much more to it.
Also, that physician is not going to know more about your body than
Right.
you.
Right. Absolutely. And
Nobody is going to
yeah,
know more about your body than you. So they can be a
absolutely.
specialist in any subject, but they're actually not a specialist in you. Um, and I think that's kind of, I've got those letters now. I've got the
Yes.
NLP, I've got the
You are
master.
your own specialist.
I
You're the
spent an extra
specialist of your own
1,000.
experiences. You're the specialist of your own life. And if you can share your wisdom, but I do find it amazing that we all do this. I've done the same thing. I thought, well, I'm going to become a coach. And when I started doing it, I felt like I needed every certification under the sun. And I'm not, okay, I got that, but I still didn't feel
Yeah.
ready to do the work. And then I'm like, okay, now I've got this certification. Okay, now I'm getting this certification. And I realized eventually, with a business coach's help, where she really questioned me, and she was an amazing coach, to, why aren't you qualified? Let's sit down and talk about
Absolutely.
everything that you can talk about. Let's sit down and go over all the things that you've learned, all the things that you've lived, all the things that you know. And what I really discovered was, holy crap, I can do this. And once you start to recognize that and truly let it become part of who you are and step into being that person, things start getting easier. It's
Oh,
like
I mean, the
all of a sudden
self
you can do
chatter,
things.
yeah, the self chatter, the
Mm,
sabotage that we do to ourselves is insane.
yeah.
I literally have just come off of a call with a HR consultant, 23 years she's been doing HR. She's worked in the United Emirates, she's worked in the UK, she's worked in London, and we were just kind of looking at her strategy. And I said to her, can you work with CEOs? And she said, oh, no.
Mm.
No, I don't. I've never been in the C-suite, therefore I can't work in the C-suite. And I said to her, should we have a little shake of that? Let's have a look at that and go, why not? Have you've dealt with people at the top of a business? Yeah, 400 people. Okay, so and she sat there and was like, actually, why can't I? Like I've
Mm-hmm.
told myself that I can't work with those people, but actually I could if I wanted to. And it was
Mm-hmm.
just that bit of saying, because in HR, change comes from the top. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not working with those people, then no change is going to happen anyway.
Right.
But it was just watching that, and I think one of the strongest things that I realized. So when I did my TEDx, people wanted me to help them to do the TEDx. So I kind of did that, and then eventually I was in a scenario where I'm co-producing a TEDx now. So I'm not speaking this time. I'm on the other side. I'm uh, coaching the speakers, and I'm loving it. But it is a very different. It's a different muscle because I have to teach them not to sell on the stage, and I teach people to
Yeah.
sell on the stage. So I'm having to
Right.
like challenge myself. But there was a few people that were offered as being a favoured person in our local area. The licensee said, "Would you like to speak?" And I know people that have applied 3 years, 300 times that would literally give a kidney to get on the TEDx stage, and they were saying no. They were like, "Oh no, no, it's fine. I don't want to." And I'm like, "What? How? How the hell are you just turning a TEDx down? Do
Mm,
I understand?" And I had to take myself away and go, what are they turning down? And so then I'd go back and talk to them, and they were like, I'm not ready. It's on my bucket list in 10 years' time.
mm,
So this came about identity. So in their own version of themselves, their identity, they didn't deserve to be on the TEDx stage.
mm-hmm.
So I switched my training last year because I recognized that a lot of the people, it wasn't about the TEDx and how the talk is because they're cool when they've got to that stage. It was about feeling like they deserved to show up, especially women,
Mm-hmm.
feeling that they deserve to show up, be seen, and be recognized. And I do a massive identity piece of work with my speakers or anybody who wants to be visible now, because I realized that that actually was the bigger problem. Their Debbie
Mm-hmm.
moment was actually the problem that I needed to resolve, and not the what are you going to talk about on stage.
Right. Absolutely. And that's where I was for such a long time. Like, who am I? Like, I know that if I sat down and thought about the things that I wanted to speak about, that I wanted to share with people, I had a story
Hmm.
and I had a voice. I was the messenger. Not that it was about me. It was about the message that I had that could land with people and help people. But I, for so long, kept saying, who am I? Who am I? You said the same thing. Who am I?
Yeah,
And once you start to recognize who you are and that you are important, that you are here for a reason in this world, you're here for connection, you're here to help other people, you're here to help yourself, other people are here to help you, then you can start to say, wow, and step into that identity. But until you do that identity work, you're not ready. You can get
yeah,
up there and do the talk and to be honest, not make the impact that you really could be making because you don't believe in yourself. People don't hear what you have to say. People don't feel your heart and soul if you're not owning it. So I think that's beautiful. And let's talk a little bit about identity because you did this TEDx talk, which is fabulous. I highly recommend anybody go and listen to it. But it's about an incredibly difficult time in your life that
yeah.
occurred. So do you want to share a little bit about that?
I can share um, one of the things that I did when I was first started to talk about this. So when I came away from that coach, so I was talking about this scenario because I was doing a bike ride in India, and that was one of my reasons for doing this. So was that I found that people more interested in a real story than they were in the money story.
Hmm.
And so I when I did the TEDx, I kind of already had a story. It was quite easy for me to get the TEDx. But what I did is I had a car accident 15 years ago. I should have been dead. I remember standing on the roadside saying, I'm going to die and this is going to hurt. And then actually taking 2 steps and saved my own life, to the point that I only smashed my leg up. and I won't go into the whole story. They can listen to the TED for that. But
Yes.
afterwards, I was very euphoric. I was very much a person who was like, look at me, I should be in the morgue. I'm the luckiest person in the world.
Mm.
Didn't walk for 6 months, and I had a hairstyle.
Perspective.
Yeah.
Mm.
I was literally, I'm the luckiest person in the world. Some of my family didn't have that perspective, but for me, I stood there and said, I'm going to die and this is going to hurt. And so whatever I had to go through after that was still door B. Door A was rubbish, door B was better. So I was very, very positive and euphoric. I didn't walk for 6 months. I had a hairdressing salon in a gym, so it didn't fit into my life at all. Everyone's talking squat weights and body pump, and all I can do is walk on one foot. And then subsequently I got better, kind of went to see, because it was a car accident, I had to go and see these surgeons about 2 years later, and I'd really thought I'd made this progress. I'm walking again, I got my life back, and they all said you're going to be in a wheelchair at 55, like all three of them. And I can remember thinking, no, I'm going to have to fight with you now. That's not going to happen to me. That might be for other people, but that is not happening to me. And so did make some changes and some other bits and pieces there, but then got to a stage where I was, my friend had done this bike ride, and I'd seen her do the bike ride,
Mm.
and in Brazil, and she had a great time. And I just thought, I need to, I'm getting to 55. It was in the lockdown when I first signed up. I was getting to 55, and I felt like I needed to use my legs before I lose my legs. I do have another surgery that I need on my leg, and that will leave me with a leg that can't bend. So that will put me into a wheelchair. So I then started to train for this bike ride. I didn't talk about it a little bit for a while, and then people started to get the story out of me. During that time of getting that story out of me, I met somebody who said, you have to stop reliving it when you tell the story.
Mm.
So there was a point where I would have told it very differently, and I would have told you word for word how it happened, how I felt. But to do that word for word, I would go back inside my own head, do this kind of look up at the ceiling, and traumatize myself every time.
Hmm.
I met a lady called Daphne, and she's like, you have to learn how to not do that, because you're reliving it every single time. So otherwise I would never have been able to talk about it. So by the time I'd started talking about it, did a little bit of fundraising, I paid for the bike ride myself. And then people started to hear about it in magazines, on the radio and stuff like that. So by the time I got to the TED, I was more comfortable to speak about it without traumatizing myself, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, because I actually just delivered a speech last weekend and it was the same thing for me. It was probably the first time I've told the story of my growing up in an abusive household
Hmm.
without feeling any emotion about, going back and feeling that. It felt powerful. I've always felt like it's really powerful to tell stories, but there was always even still a little part of me that was like, I'm still that girl
Yeah,
that I'm talking about. And this time I was like, wow, I feel like she was there listening to me and I carry her in my heart and I give her love, but it was not an emotionally charged thing at all anymore, which is so beautiful. So
I
I
love
love that
that.
for you.
Yeah,
So tell me,
and I
oh,
love that
sorry.
for you, because I think that's such a big part of the control of the person that abused you to a certain extent.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
I have a client who last year I helped her to write a book. So she was sexually attacked by an acupuncture Chinese doctor
Mm.
in the clinic. She had all the needles sticking in her, and then he sexually assaulted her.
Wow.
And that was quite a few years ago. And she went to court, and he was Chinese, he disappeared, and is still
Mm.
disappeared. So, but it happened on May the 4th. And so every year when people started talking about May the 4th be with you and stuff,
Mm.
she is massively traumatized. And
Yeah.
because the guy had gone from the court, so he's still missing now, I think it's 20 years. Um, Sometimes it would come up in the local newspaper. She had no control, and it would be a cold case, and they'd publish it, and no one ever asked her side of the story. So
Mm.
we decided that actually she was going to tell her side of the story. So she went on our radio station and told that, and then wrote a book to say, actually, this is my side of the story. No one's ever asked me what it was like for me and living it. And there was a freedom. There's a freedom
Hmm.
saying, actually, taking that power back and that narrative
Yeah.
back of being, this is my story. I own it. she's actually one of our speakers, one of our TEDx speakers, and it's been really tricky to kind of help her put the speech together because TEDx have got some really good guidelines of what they allow you to speak about and what you don't allow to speak about. And because that's an open court case, there's a lot of stuff we can't talk about actually in that scenario, but you can buy a book.
Mhm.
And I think it is very much of, it makes you very powerful as a speaker if you can get to that. What
Mhm.
it also does is if you don't deal with that trauma, and you know, especially in the TEDx is not business. I've got 15 speakers, but I've probably curated 17 speakers, and a couple have had to drop out. One was male suicide and just couldn't
Mhm.
actually get to talking about it. It's not ready yet.
Mhm.
And so they are talking about things that are really real. They're not talking about how to make an extra 10 grand or whatever. So you are talking about something. And I think if you have that trauma when you're still talking about it, you traumatize your audience.
Yeah. Yeah, because they feel your energy. It happens. Yeah,
But what
absolutely.
it does, I was on a yacht in Mallorca a couple of years ago, and there was a guy there who his son had died, and he wanted to talk about this. So they invited us there so that we could listen about this story. But he traumatized the audience, and people were crying.
Mm.
We sat on the shot and they were crying. But what they were crying about is a memory of their own.
Mhm.
So they weren't traumatized by his story; they were traumatized by their own story. And so he'd lost his audience effectively because they were
Mm.
like, somebody's dad had died and somebody else's died. And this guy played almost like the last phone call to the hospital where his son was dying, played that, and it triggered
Yeah.
half the room. And it was so sad because he's just trying to go. It's really hard to explain what he was trying to do, but he was just trying to go, look, this is what happened and it's awful. But we did lost the audience. And so I was really aware when I was sat there to go, okay, this is what happens if you don't deal with that,
Mhm.
if you're talking about it as a memory as opposed to talking about it as something that you can talk about that is an experience. When I say
Yeah.
experience, it makes it sound fun, but
Yeah.
you can talk about it as something that happened and make it be a past thing.
Mhm.
Um, I was euphoric for ages. And then when the hospital said to me, remember going to the hospital and they said, right, we'll sign you off now. You're on an SOS, which means you can just call up if you need us. And I was like, what are you talking about? And they said, oh, you're further forward than we thought you would be. I said, no, no, no.
Mhm.
I thought I was getting back to normal. I thought I was going to just get back to normal. If I did all the work that you gave me, I'd get back to normal. And they're like, no, this is it. And that's the only time that I crashed and burned. And when I sat in
Yeah.
the bathroom, cried my eyes out a lot. And I don't talk about that because actually I can still feel that of going,
Yeah.
you've actually given up on me.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah,
think,
that's hard when somebody gives up on you and you're not ready to give up at all.
yeah, I
But,
thought,
what I think is amazing is that there you were doing this bike ride. So tell me a little bit about the bike ride experience and where you did the ride.
so the bike ride is amazing. I've got a very adventurous friend. She just one Saturday morning said to me, hey, do you want to try this? And it was a bike ride in India and it was 12 days. And I thought, okay, that looks good. And when she'd done her bike ride, there was a lady that was like in her 70s. So I'm like, if the lady in her 70s can do it,
Mm.
and I get proper FOMO of people doing adventures and travel and all that stuff. So I was like,
I
why
can
can't
relate.
venture. In my head, I was very much, well, let's use it before you lose it. If I'm going to be in a wheelchair, then I have to do this now. I can't be having regrets afterwards and say, wish I'd done it. The opportunity was there. So I paid my £500 deposit. And then my husband came in and I said to him, I'm going to do a bike ride in India. And he said, who with? And I was like, okay, so not you then, you're not coming. So I it was clearly not him. And then when the paperwork came through, although we were there for 12 days and it was 370 kilometers. So I reasoned this down to go in, well, that's about 25k a day. That's fine. But when the paperwork came through and it was 5 days cycling and all the rest of it was traveling, and actually it was like 94 kilometers, 64
Mm.
kilometers, 105 kilometers. I thought, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done?
That's what I would think.
Yeah, I was just like, shit, what have I just done? But I'm in now. I've paid my deposit, right? And I've told people I'm going. So we just broke it down, chunked it down into the practice. And so I think first bike ride was like 10 miles. I don't know how to use the gears on my bike. I thought I did. I didn't know how to use them. My friend kept pedaling off and said to me, do you know what you're doing? I said, of course I know what I'm doing. And she was like, but and I was like, oh no, I didn't know to try. I was just using the gears on one side and not on the other side instead of having 21. I during the
Trial
practice.
by fire.
Yeah, I wore see-through shorts. She just kept talking to me about padding. She was like, you just need to pad in on thing for comfort. So I ordered a pair of shorts that she said to me was a little bit see-through. And I was like, wow, I've got them from the same place. Wore those for months, cycling around the Cotswolds. And when I ordered more for India, because you need like 10 pairs, I realized they were underwear.
Mm.
So I cycled hundreds of miles in my underwear. Because she kept saying, I think I can see your tattoo. And I was like, no. Anyway, so I'm a complete amateur, complete amateur. That's what like, I had a hair salon in the gym. Doesn't mean to say that I was a sports person. I have lots of enthusiasm and no skill whatsoever. So when it comes to the November and we're going to India, I'm like, what am I going to do? Am I going to come back in a wheelchair? Am I
Mm.
literally, I knew I could cycle 50 miles, but I'd never cycled 5 days in a row.
Mm.
So I was a little bit excited, very terrified,
Yeah.
absolutely terrified. But it was amazing. It was
Yeah.
insane. You know, India is India. Try going on the road. Got tuk-tuks coming towards you. There's a cow. There's a moped where someone's washing and five people piled on top of it. And it's
Mm.
like, and my first bike, they just bought these bikes on the train and put it together. And my handlebars started twisting because it wasn't screwed together properly. I couldn't
Mm.
stop. And I just thought, what have I done? What on earth have I done? Why have I like volunteered for this? And then just thought, I remember sitting talking to my friend and like really important to be honest, I use this a lot was I just thought she said just pedal to the brake. Just commit to the brake, have the break, and then see if you can get to lunch. And if you get to lunch, see if you can get to the next break.
Mhm.
So I chunked everything down really small like that to go, can I do this? I think on the first day I was quite confident and I got to the end of the day and there was a hill and I just couldn't do it. And we had a guide with us and he's like, you easily could have done that. And then definitely lost my confidence. And the next day was a really long day. I think it was the 100K day. And I was just like, don't know if I can do this. But my friend had teased me, said, you know, if you get on the bus, then it's game over. And I didn't want to get on the bus. You can get on a bus and have a break. And this 70-year-old lady never got on the bus.
Mhm.
So I had that in my head that I wasn't getting on the bus. And so, yeah, I just chunked it down every single day. Some days
I
we went,
think that helps immensely when you've got a big goal, even if,
yeah,
is always to chunk it down because you can take those kind of bite-sized sections as opposed to the whole thing, which feels completely overwhelming.
yeah. And I honestly, I was so scared that I would come back in a wheelchair because I just
Mm.
thought I've overdone it. I'm so extreme, you know, I'm all or nothing. If I'm doing it, I have to be ridiculous. I can't just go and cycle around the streets. I have to go, yeah, I'm going to cycle 5 days in India. I mean, we cycled through, we very rarely went onto those busy roads. There was sometimes we had to, but we cycled through all of these towns and villages and very rural areas. We started by the
Mhm.
Taj Mahal and we ended up in Jaipur. So, very different scenarios. But what was amazing, and it wasn't long after the lockdown, what was amazing is that everybody came out of their house to cheer. Well, the little kids laughed
Mm.
because they'd not seen white people. They couldn't understand why there was only 12 of us in that group, why there was 12, sometimes there's 100, 12 people cycling, there's an empty bus behind them. Just like, why
Mm.
don't get on the bus, people? There's a bus there, you could easily do that. But they
Yeah.
would come out and they would cheer, they would laugh, they would take pictures. So even when you were really struggling, you know, you went through a village and the whole village comes out to
Mm.
applaud and cheer and it kind of lifted you back up
Yeah,
realistically.
that's fantastic. Just
Yeah.
to get people that don't know you coming out and cheering you on,
Oh,
and it gives you that like, all right, I got this. I can do this, right?
I had like nerves that went numb down my arm, just like from the vibrations of the handlebar. So like these two fingers kind of were like this. And so I'd be like, you'd be shaking your hands type thing. And then they'd go, so you don't wave into them all. So it was like, you
Mm.
just can't, they've made that effort to come out and see you um, completely didn't know. And the first day when we went to, not the Taj Mahal, the one next to it, it's not the Amber Fort either. I can't remember the name of it, sorry for people. But it's the building that was built as a fort so that the person who did the Taj Mahal was wasting lots of money. And so
Mm.
they built him this other fort and built him into a room so he could look at the Taj Mahal, but he wasn't allowed to do anything. So we went there
Mm.
and all these Indian people came up to us and kept taking pictures. because we were blonde and because we were white and we were the anomaly. So I probably took
Mm-hmm.
about 100 pictures whilst we were in there. Everyone just kept coming over and going, "Can you take a picture with me?" It's very
Yeah.
strange. So, but the people
Felt
were
like a celebrity.
yeah, honestly,
Yeah.
I felt like I was Madonna for a day. Um, but it was honestly, as an experience, it was amazing. And the one thing that I hadn't planned, but it did actually work out that way because of the lockdown and stuff, was that was the year that I was 55. So I
Hmm.
was 55 in the July, and then I cycled in the November, and 55 was when they told me I'd be in the wheelchair.
You are not in a
So
wheelchair.
I was like, I'm not in the wheelchair. And they couldn't
Mm.
believe it. They were like, who told you to be in a wheelchair? But it's there. I'm now 58, still not in a wheelchair, but
Mm.
one day I will be. So I still need some more adventures, right?
Right. Oh, always take the adventures and never count somebody out and down. Never. Because, and one of the things that people need to recognize is there are limitations in some ways, but our brain is so strong. And if you can talk, work on your brain and make it stronger and feed it the information like you did, no, I will not accept that this is going to be my fate. This is not going to be where I end up. You can do amazing things that people refer to as miraculous. And I think that's incredible.
My husband just says it's
Incredible.
stubborn. He just
Yeah.
says you're stubborn. I don't believe that no means no, and this is very controversial, so I will quantify it for you. I
Yeah.
don't believe that no means no. I do believe that it means you are either asking the wrong question or asking
Hmm.
the wrong person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not a I did get attacked on Twitter for saying that the other day, but is
Uh,
what I'm saying is this, you're saying no to me, then I'm going to move on and find my yes. If I
hmm.
know there's a yes and I know there's something that I can achieve, then I will just keep looking until I find my yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important for people. That's just my mentality, is to go, if I know that it can be done. So in the point of view
Hmm.
of like sales or visibility, if I know it can be done, I was very lucky with the TEDx, I got it the first
Yeah.
time, but I would have still applied, as
Hmm.
many times as I needed to.
Well, I think it's important, like you said, you quantify it and you explain that when I say no, doesn't mean no. I'm not saying every single circumstance. Of course, there are circumstances where no means no. But when somebody tells you, oh, you can't do this because they don't believe in you or they
Yeah.
think that medically it's not going to happen, well, let me show you that you're wrong. Yeah.
And
So,
somebody says no to me, I accept their no and I move on. So
right,
it isn't a
right.
case of, if I'm asking a question to someone, they say, do you know where this come from? Like, I had to really think about this, but I'm going to share it so I don't sound like a complete mentalist. When I was young, I can remember asking my dad if we could go to a school disco or if we could go to somewhere. And he says no to everything, still does, still
Hmm.
says no. And then my mum would work on him. And so eventually, a couple of weeks later, there'd be two little pretty outfits, and me and my sister could go to the school disco. So when I think back, I realize that's where it comes from. Is in the end, I never asked him because I
Hmm.
didn't think he was going to say no. So I would just ask my mum, and then she would work on him, and then I wouldn't have to go through the hardship of the no.
Hmm. Hmm.
It comes from going finding the person that's going to say yes to me
Yep.
and letting her do the work instead of me doing the work. He never negotiated with us. She would just go, "Oh, I think it's a good idea for them to go," and she would negotiate or whatever. So that's where I think it comes from, the child of knowing this person's going to say no. So there's no point in me having that conversation
Mm.
because he's going to say no. So I have a conversation with my mum. She's going to make the yes happen.
Yeah. I love
So
it.
sound less like a
Yeah.
mad person.
Yeah, yeah. So I love that you're using your story to get yourself speaking, but now you work with speakers and help them get prepared. So how did that part come about?
I think it came naturally after doing the TEDx that people were like, if you've done a TEDx,
Hmm.
I never say to anyone, I'm something special. I'm just a normal person. So if I can do it, then anybody can do it. And so people then came to me, but actually a lot of people came to me that were too shy to speak, still in the Debbie from Swindon era. So I kind of started to help people to speak, but then I had to take it a little bit further because I realized that they were speaking and then nothing was happening.
Hmm.
So they were speaking, paying to speak, not being paid to speak, paying to go onto people's stages and getting
Hmm.
big round of applause, and everyone will come and saying, "You're amazing," happened to me. Yeah, you're amazing, but nobody bought their program afterwards.
Hmm.
So I pivoted from saying, look, I can help you to create your TEDx talk. You couldn't never guarantee a TEDx because it's down to the organizers. I
Hmm.
can help you to create something that is The reality is when you're speaking, I was asked to, after my TED, I was asked to go and speak at the House of Lords. And I've worked with L'Oreal and I've worked with a lot of people. The House of Lords gave me 10 minutes. So they wanted my TEDx speech, which was 15 minutes, but
Hmm.
it's 10 and a hard
Hmm.
10. And so I was like, scrunch that down. And the
Yeah.
reality is when you're going and speaking is normally that is what you're getting, 10, 20, maximum 20 minutes,
Hmm.
10 to 15. Our attention span is quite short now. Getting a key
Yep.
that's 45 minutes to an hour, well, that's a luxury. So
Mm.
I started to try and teach people how to do that small, get your message across in a shorter period of time, so that if you had an opportunity to speak, that you could take advantage of it. And
Hmm.
also to have that confidence to get up and talk in a normal way. I'm not very, there's a lot of talk when you're speaking about how you should stand, where you should put your arms, and
Hmm.
subliminal messages and stuff. And actually, I will call your bullshit on that. I don't
Hmm.
believe in any of that. It makes you inauthentic and it makes you a performer on the
Right.
stage.
Right.
Very manipulative and very like, if I'm going to talk to this person, I'm going to raise my hand there. And then you're just like every other speaker. So
Hmm.
I'm very much like, go on, be you, be the authentic you. Nobody else. I don't want you to be anybody else on the stage.
Hmm.
Get on with your message, your authenticness of who you
Hmm.
actually really, really are. I don't care now. I'll tell people I'm Debbie from Swindon. Everybody
Hmm.
recognizes it. When I'm rich and famous, I'm going to have merch with Debbie from Swindon on it. I'll have mugs, hats, sweatshirts, the lot.
Do it now. Do it
Things, yeah.
now. I love
I
it.
should
I
do
love it.
actually, yeah.
Because
But
then it
I
becomes a
never have
thing.
Swindon t-shirts on because that's where I started. I started as this person who didn't think that they could get on that stage and speak,
Yep.
and then I got to the TEDx, and now I'm organizing a TEDx. So I'm
Right.
actually, it was
Amazing.
literally time putting the whole TEDx, and our town has never had a TEDx ever. This is the
Mm.
first one. So we applied for the license, took a huge leap of faith 10 months ago to do this, and now I'm helping the speakers, and it's like I
Mm.
love it. And I love it to bits. It's such a passion of mine to help people to understand their real story, what their real
Hmm.
value is. And even then is I've got a lady who's helped people all over the world. She's worked in Liberia in the Ebola crisis and every medical crisis she's been. And then she wants to talk about Harvard in her speech because she needs that verification
Mm.
that a Harvard professor said this. And I said to her, just 12 minutes. These 12 minutes are yours. No, you're not going to get this chance again. Why are you
Hmm.
giving it to somebody else? And I
Yeah.
see that over and over and over again, especially
Mm.
in women. So I try to help people to not only be able to tell their story or why somebody should work with them, for example, for your experiences and what you've been through,
Hmm.
and how you can help other people to get to where you are now, which is brilliant. That you can talk
Hmm.
about this, you can help other people. You're not going to go on the stage and crumble, and then everyone in the audience is going to be crumbling because
Hmm.
that's not helping people. And some people feel that's what they should be doing.
Yeah.
They should be out there doing that. So I help people to do that, and then very naturally, what happens is opportunities come to them. So people get opportunities. And so then that 20% is going, when the opportunity comes, can you just ask for the sale? Can you just actually sell something to this person who wants to be helped with you? Who,
Hmm.
because that's what a lot of people stop doing. So they'd get the visibility, they get the opportunities, and they would just be like, thank you very much, it's great. I can't sell anything to them. And so I
Mm.
my business now has grown just that last stage to say, get paid for speaking. If you're up there, get paid. If you're talking because you can help somebody to go through something, say through you, for example, Heather, you've got a great story and you help people. I see it as kind of a natural progression to attract people to you that are the right people to work with you. If you get up on the stage and you move somebody and you have a conversation with somebody or you motivate them and they come afterwards and ask you to help them because that's
Hmm.
normal, and you say no, because that's what you're doing if you're not saying, actually, yes, I can help you, but it's going to
Yeah.
cost me this, right?
Right.
If you say no, then you've caused more damage than you fixed.
Absolutely, because then they walk away saying, well, I guess I'm not worthy of help, and I
Yeah,
guess I'm gonna just have to stay stuck here. And that can stop them from seeking anybody else.
yes, it's
Yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
It's massive. And so that's why it's a natural progression to go, okay, I can help you.
Hmm.
Let me take you further into this scenario. And that's only if you're authentic. If you're the real person on
Yes.
stage, if you're up there manipulating people, then that's not going to happen. If you're up
Hmm.
there telling lies, if you're up there making yourself sound better than you are, then people won't come to you anyway because they're not drawn. We're in a trust recession with AI. We are in a trust recession where people don't believe things. They don't
Hmm.
understand things. They're not sure what's real and what's not real. So
Yeah.
if you can't go out there and be, I'm very transparent of who I am. No, I'm still Debbie
Hmm.
from Swindon, new level, new devil. It just sits up there again. But
Yeah.
in terms of um, if you go up there and you be a real person, you'll attract people. Like you become the honey rather than the bee, but you attract the
Yeah.
right people for alignment, and then
Mm-hmm.
everybody's happy because you can work with these people that you're going to be really passionate about working with because
Mm-hmm.
they're a good fit.
Right. And that's the whole thing. It's kind of like that emotional vibrational scale where you are, what your
Hmm.
energy is at, where you're vibrating at, is what you're going to attract. So if you're super negative and upset and angry and depressed, that's what you're gonna attract. But if you're being authentic and you're vibrating at a higher level, you're gonna attract those people. And then you're not, I've never been able to be fake. It's just not who I am. And so I'm very real. I'm very vulnerable most of the time. This is me. This is who I am. I call myself a dork all the time because I can be dorky, and that's okay. I've accepted that about myself, and I love that about myself. But if I put on a persona on stage or on my podcast or anywhere, and I pretend to be somebody I'm not, how am I going to keep that up? That's exhausting. And then
Hmm.
people are going to see through it. People are going to feel it and see through it. Even if they're like,
That's
oh,
where
okay, I like the person I saw on stage, and then you're not that person, they're not going to work with you.
two things happen. One is the imposter syndrome kicks in for you because
Hmm.
you know that you've just done a performance and that you're not that person. And the other is someone said to me, I was very be the honey and not be the bee. Be the attracted as opposed to busy person. They said, if you're not your true self, you're not going to attract the right bees. You're going to attract people that are not aligned with you. Then you end up, and we've all done it. We've all done it at some
Hmm.
point to have the cash flow or because someone's told us that we should do, is you end up working with people that you're not aligned with. So
Hmm.
it's never a good fit. If you've ever had a client that you wake up in the morning and go, oh, I've got to work with this person tomorrow and they make me feel uncomfortable or they make me
Hmm.
feel it's because you took on somebody that you shouldn't have been teaching or somebody that you shouldn't have. And similarly, the energy thing that you just said actually, and that kind of resonated is if you go on stage as a victim, you're going to attract the victims.
Hmm.
You're going to
Yes.
attract the people that cannot be fixed because they're not
Yep.
ready to be fixed. And if you're not ready there, that's what you're going to attract. And so I wouldn't want to be that person. And obviously that would be
Hmm.
exhausting, having to deal with people that are, still in a place of trauma, still in a place of belief, but not actually ready to come out of that stage because there is a process.
Absolutely.
Stay in there for your own grieving, your own processing, etc.
Hmm.
Like I did do the NLP in the end. Let's see, I do know my stuff, but
Yeah.
it's you just people buy from people. The hardest things that we need to assess with people because at the end of the day, we're still cave people, right? Within
Hmm.
7 seconds, I want to know if you're going to kill me, eat me, or you're going to be my friend. That's it. 7 seconds. That's all it takes for me to go, okay, not okay. So
Hmm.
if you're there pretending to be someone that you're not, or you're telling a story that isn't right, or your intentions are not good, we're going to pick that up. We won't know what we've picked up.
Right.
Our senses will go, oh, danger, this is dangerous.
Hmm.
And so then you have no trust.
Right.
So it's it's a very short-lived victory.
Yeah, and that's something that I've had to learn to trust my instincts. My body tells me, and I knew that at a very young age, but I also shoved it down because I was taught by society, and this is one of the reasons I love doing this podcast is you need to be a good girl. You need to accept everybody. You need to always let people take advantage of you. You need to,
People
not
please.
stir the boat, not rock the boat. Well, I'm all done with that because I had such bad experiences because I shoved it down and I didn't listen to my instincts. And yep, it proved me right that I was right. And so I finally have gotten to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm emotionally intelligent. I have these instincts for a reason and I trust them now. And my life is so different because of it. Because when I didn't, I let people into my life that hurt.
You
not
trusted them more
necessarily
than
intentionally, but it happened.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, you trusted them more than you trusted you because
Yes.
that's what you were told. Trust these people. They're the people who are going to look after you.
Yeah.
And it's so sad because, you know, you should have been able to trust those people.
Right. Right.
You should have been able to trust those people, and those people should look after you. But,
Hmm.
it takes us to be older and wiser
Hmm.
to kind of start putting
Mm.
protective boundaries around ourselves so that we're
Yeah.
not, I think we're all, I'm an empath, you're an empath. We soak up
Hmm.
other people's trauma and energy and stuff. So that was another thing that I had to learn, was to not take on everybody else's emotions and not take
Right.
on everyone else's feelings and just get totally overwhelmed as such. So I think that's why I had such a tough side to start with. They're very much of like, okay, this is the work person and the home
Hmm.
person is a completely different, two different people.
Mm. I think one of the most important things in all of it is awareness. Like if you become aware of the fact that you are pushing down your instincts, that you are letting people treat you a certain way, that you are not happy because of the relationships you're in or the situations you keep finding yourself in, you need to become aware. And that's where your choice can come in and really make the complete difference in your life. And that can happen for anybody at any time, at any age, but it definitely usually takes some tough experiences and not so great feelings to be able to start to become aware, because until you become aware, you don't know what you don't know. So I think that what you're doing with people and working on their identity so they can share their story is really, really important. And women sharing their stories, and men too, but women sharing their stories because we've been taught to shove it down. Nobody wants to hear it. That's not true. And this is what's making the world a better, more aware place.
Mhm.
So you talk about the final 20%. So tell us a little bit about what that is and why so many people, specifically women, are missing it.
So the final 20% is to actually close a sale. At the end of the
Hmm.
day, we're all trying to get visible. We're here on a podcast, we're on a TEDx
Hmm.
stage, we're going to a networking event and stuff like that. So I I would question to go, why are you doing that? What is the purpose of it? Are you just going because you like people looking at you? But actually, we're going to a business networking because we want to earn some money. Okay, like
Hmm.
the harsh bit here. We want to earn some money. We want to be able to pay our bills. We want to be able to
Right.
go on holiday. We want to be able to treat our friends, whatever it is that you want to earn the money for. So I noticed there was a lot of people that were visible for the sake of being visible,
Hmm.
really poor, they're really struggling. They're like, oh, I'm here and I'm busy being busy, but not getting anything. And so I was
Right.
like, okay, we need to close that gap. We need to be able to say, what is it that you want this person to do? Just the next logical step. So if I'm
Hmm.
speaking, so if anyone here wants to be a speaker, wants to understand how to get their story out, wants to learn how to be that identity of a speaker, next logical step is to contact me and we have a
Hmm.
conversation about how I can help you. Okay. There's no mystery about it. And there is
Hmm.
a lot of mystery sometimes in our industry. And so the final 20% is going, what did you ask somebody to do? And when they said yes to you, did you say yes back?
Hmm.
Did you make it easy for them to actually buy from you?
Hmm.
You've done all the first bit, you've done all 80%, you've been visible. They now know who you are, they know your story, they know how you can help them, they want you to help them.
Hmm.
And the last 20% is for you to say, okay, yes, I'll help you. It's going to cost this.
Yeah. And so speaking of that, a lot of women feel uncomfortable selling, like they feel like it's sleazy or the ick. What do you think that we've gotten wrong about sales? And what does it look like when it actually feels aligned to sell?
I think what you've got wrong, so what they've got wrong is that they don't believe in the value of what they're selling. So,
Mm.
for example, if I was to help somebody to get onto a stage that was then going to help them with their business, I know how much work I would put in. I'm so results orientated. I care
Mm.
more about my clients' results than they even do, to be honest. I'm so results orientated. And so for me, I'm very much like, if I can help you to get to that stage, so say for example,
Mm.
if I charge 1,000, I know you're going to make 3,000 back. I know that you're going to be able to get 10 clients. So I know the value of my service and how
Hmm.
it will help you. Okay. And I think we have to stop talking almost about the word sell it and of like, do you have a service that's going to help
Hmm.
whether it helps them to make money, helps them to have a better life. If you've got a service, and we do, you do, I do, most coaches, most speakers have a service,
Hmm.
help somebody to achieve something that they want to do in the easiest way possible. So the hard way is to tell them what they want, tell them why they
Hmm.
need it, and then tell them to go and work it out for themselves.
Yeah.
That's mean, right? So that's the ick. That's the ick of going, well, I'm not going to help them because then I
Hmm.
feel like a salesperson. But actually, when you realize that you're sending them away hungry, you're
Mm.
sending them away hungry, they don't know where to go for help. That's why they've reached out to you. They've taken all of their belief and their trust and their courage to
Hmm.
go, um, to come to you and say, please, can you help me?
Hmm.
And you just go, too busy to help you.
Mm.
So if you're asking somebody if they need to be helped and you're saying, I can help you, it's not ick to say there is a cost to that. There is a
Right.
cost to it because everyone needs to eat and we're all here to make money. Otherwise, we're
Hmm.
not a charity, right? So if your business is about helping people, then be open for business. If you went to, I don't know, if you went into Walmart and loaded your trolley up and went to the checkout and they were all closed, you'd be
Mm.
like, "Well, how can I fix my problem? I need to take all this home, right?" So it's a
Yeah.
service.
Right.
It's not, you're not trick. Where it becomes icky is if you're tricking somebody, if
Right.
you're promising something that you deep down don't believe that you can deliver. And that
Yeah.
comes back to like the Debbie from Swindon, the imposter
Hmm.
syndrome, the new level, new devil. If you genuinely are over promising somebody and you can't help them, whether they're
Hmm.
not a good fit for you, whether they're not aligned for you, whether you've been a bit dramatic on the stage and over promise, then yeah, that's all icky.
Hmm.
Horrible, that's all it. And you should walk away from that person and say to them,
Right.
I'm not the person for you, but go and buy that person. I
Yeah.
don't know if anyone's ever had this scenario, is if you don't follow this through and offer the service and accept that you can help that person, what do you think they're going to do? Because they're not going to go home and cry into their pillow. They're going to find
Mm.
somebody else
Right.
and pay them more than you.
Mm.
They're going to go and pay somebody else to do the job that you started.
Right. Absolutely. And it's all, there's a huge mindset here that I learned years ago with something that I was selling and was having a lot of hesitation about selling because I felt like, oh, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. I don't want to be seen this way. Well, think about when you go to a restaurant and
Hmm.
you found this favorite restaurant. Oh my God, I wish I had known about this years ago. They were here. It was an amazing meal, great service. You're going to tell people about it.
Hmm.
So if you believe in what you're doing and you believe down in your heart and soul that this is what you're meant to do and really own that identity, we're coming back to identity work again. You're not selling, you're telling people, I can help you. And yes, you deserve, just like a surgeon, just like somebody working at Walmart, just like anybody performing a service and doing a job, you deserve to get compensation for that.
100%, 100%. Otherwise you're not a business. If you're lucky enough to be in a position where you can help people and
Mm.
not charge them for it, to be honest, they probably wouldn't actually do anything because people don't value stuff that you give away for
Right.
free anyway. I've done it. I've helped people as a favor and they don't do there's no action that comes because there's no consequence of it. But that's psychology, so we won't go into that.
Hmm.
But if you have, like your restaurant analogy, okay? If you
Hmm.
go to that restaurant, you found it, you discovered it, you love it, and they refuse to serve you, you'd be like,
Hmm.
what? We've done all this marketing to get
Hmm.
here, and then now the guy's like, I'm really sorry, we don't want you to come in here. You're hungry, that you just caused a problem.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do is I'm never going to come back to you, and I'm going
Hmm.
to go to another restaurant. I'm going to give somebody else my money. I'm
Right.
still going to spend my money. I'm still going to pay to eat. So
Hmm.
you have to just be more convinced. And so that's where the identity stuff comes in. That's
Hmm.
how we look at who you think you are now and
Hmm.
who you think you need to become to be the person that they're going to buy from.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
person who's worthy to stand on the stage, but also the person that is that people are going to want to buy from, and what your
Hmm.
product is, and how you have it and how you're pricing. If you say, oh, I want a 10K month, and you want to charge someone £10,000, you don't believe you're worth £10,000, then you're not going to sell anything anyway. And if you don't believe you're worth it, then go and sell 10 £1,000 ones and work your way up. You know,
Hmm.
you do verify, but it is very much
Because confidence does come from doing. Yeah.
and get some case studies and get some
Mhm.
proof of concept, you know,
Yeah.
get some social proof. You're going to work with 10 people, fix 10 people's problems. The next time you say to somebody, this is how much I cost, and they go, wow, and you say, yeah, but I did this for this person, this for this person, this
Hmm.
for this person. You
Yeah.
don't need, you're not convincing people, you're just saying, this is what I've done. And
Yep.
so, you
Yeah.
know, you've got proof of concepts, you've got that
Right.
that internal tick rather than
Hmm.
is such you've got that internal saying, I actually do help people. Somebody who goes on a coaching course or reads an online course and then goes, right, okay, I can set up a 5K offer, and it's going to be this, this, and this, and it's going to be videos, and it's not worth the money because you haven't solved anyone's problem.
Hmm.
So it's knowing the problem that you solve will show the value that you bring.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. So if someone's listening right now and they're like, oh my God, this is totally me, what's one shift that you can suggest they make today to just start closing that gap?
I would get them to I write down who they think they need to become,
Hmm.
what they need. So, you know, we do it, or when I'm slim, when I'm rich, my life's going to start. So I would say, okay, what does that look like? If you don't feel like you're ready for this, what does the person look like that is ready?
Yeah.
That would be the
Very.
first thing. And I say, just close your eyes and picture that person, picture them standing next to you. What are they wearing? What do they look like? How do they walk? How
Mm.
do they sound? How do they feel?
Yeah.
Then I would just ask them to open their eyes, look in the mirror, give the person that they're looking at in the mirror themselves the
Hmm.
permission to say, do you know what, you've served me really well up until now, and then turn and shake the hand of that new person and step into that identity, because they already are that person. They're just not owning it. They already are. The person that stood next to them is already them. And then I would say, I would go one step further, and I would go and talk to that person, that new person, all the time. When you're in the shower, instead of going, oh, hate this bit, go, hey, look at my new body, look at my new persona, and start to
Mm.
really snuggle into that persona and get comfortable in that new persona because you're already there. I didn't
Yeah.
need NLP. God, I spent an extra 2,000 to do the NLP the second time. Didn't make any difference whatsoever. I didn't need all the letters after my name. I didn't,
Mm.
you know what I mean? I didn't need all the things that I thought I needed. I thought I needed that extra verification. I thought I needed this coaching program, or that I needed 2,000 followers on Instagram. And then I go and look at the people who've got hundreds of thousands of followers, and none of them are real people.
Yeah.
You think that you need all these extra verifications. Actually, you don't. You just need to go out and speak your truth.
Hmm. I
Who
love
you've
that.
helped, how you can help the next person.
Yep. I love that so much. And my final question for you is what I ask everybody. What does living a life beyond BS look like for you?
Peaceful,
Mm.
peaceful, easy, fun,
Yeah. And
not bad
what
stuff.
does fun look like for you?
Oh, fun for me is always if I've got my passport in my hand,
Ah,
traveling.
love that.
No, fun is people, you know. I love my family. I love to have family occasions. I cook a big roast dinner on a Sunday. Everybody comes round. It's absolute chaos. The grandchildren, my children, all the food's on the table. We're very noisy, almost like a big Italian family. Just
Yep.
cool stuff like that. I learned to um I valued all the big things before I had my accident,
Hmm.
more valued my work. I was a very workaholic type thing, and I try really hard. My nature is that I will go back to that, but I try really hard to kind of go at that time when I thought I was going to die.
Mm.
Only thing that was in my mind was not a flat stomach, and it was
Hmm.
not my business. It was my family.
Yeah.
That's what I couldn't leave. That's what I took the two steps for. So when push comes to shove, that's all that's really important.
I love it. Thank you so much. And for anybody who's interested in reaching out to you, what's the best way for them to find you?
They can find me on debbiebryan.com is my website. They can find Debbie Bryan Coach on pretty much all of the social media.
Awesome. And that information will be in the show notes for everybody. So, Debbie, thank you so much for being here with me today. I have loved this conversation and I appreciate your insights, the information that you shared with us, and your energy.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. So it's
Thank,
been absolutely so much fun.
yeah. So thank you everybody so much for sharing the space with me and Debbie today. My hope is that you walk away knowing that you have the power to choose differently. Go live fully, freely, and unapologetically. Your life beyond BS starts now. I'm so grateful you were here today. Remember, your peace, joy, and happiness aren't found in the BS. They're found in your choices. If this episode spoke to you, please rate, review, follow, and subscribe, and share it with a friend. For ways to connect or work with me, check the show notes or visit heathermcnally.com. Until next time, keep choosing you and keep living your life beyond BS.